Make sure you check this out on YouTube, guys. It's Sight Fishing 101. You're going to learn a lot in this video.
Every one of us has got this bag of tricks. Everybody thinks they've got this magic trick, magic bait, magic whatever. And in reality, a lot of pros do have these tricks that they do.
Right.
Would you mind sharing one in your bag of tricks that might be original and new?
It's probably not. It's not original. Now I throw a drop shot a lot. I throw a drop shot on heavy line. I do that, and the biggest reason I throw the drop shot is I like to keep that bait. If I can keep that bait up off the bottom, I can see that fish when he gets it. The biggest thing, the biggest reason that I do it is to not foul hook him. And if you're throwing something on the bottom and that fish, like just a Texas rig, and he goes down, he turns down on that bait, you lose sight of it a lot of times because he covers it up. And so he may bite it. You may feel the thump, and he even may be swimming off with it, and you set the hook and you get him right here. With the drop shot, it keeps the bait up where I can see it, and that fish is approaching it horizontal. And so when he comes to it, I got such a clear view of, well, he's only got the tail right now, or yep, he's got the whole thing, and then you can hammer down on him. So that's the biggest reason that I do it. I just, like I said, I do it with heavy line on the bait casting rod, flipping stick. So I mean, it's not like you're, having to. It's not. I don't do it for finesse reasons, is what I'm saying. I just do it to make sure, to give me the best chance to catch that fish without foul hooking it.
Gotcha. Don't let it mess with you. Say I go out there, I mark all those beds, and I go out there tomorrow, and they're all gone, or someone's caught them, or something of that nature. Maybe the weather changed. Always keep an open mind. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Make sure you have a backup plan to go do if those bed fish don't work out for you.
No, I mean, if you're flipping in the springtime in dirty water, you're catching spawning fish. So if the water's dirty, I'm just trying to flip and, trying to put on beds, flipping.
Boat position. There's a lot of times where if you just move your boat 20 foot to the left or right, it makes all the difference in the world. Why, I don't know.
The biggest thing is you got to be stealth, and I feel like if you can see that bass and position your boat to where you can see that bass but he can't see you, I think that's the biggest thing when it comes down to sight fishing.
If I'm fishing a really big fish, and this is probably pretty well known, and I can't get it to do anything with any of the traditional lizard, tube, creature bait, whatever, I'm gonna go big. Like an 8-inch ocho soft stick bait, or a big 8-inch lizard, or like just a giant tube, something like that, or even a swim bait. I'm just gonna get it in there where it's just so big and offensive that it just can't ignore it. And sometimes it'll actually bite that bait, but sometimes it'll just get it frustrated enough, then I just pitch a regular bait in there and he eats it. So that's probably something that's been talked about, but I don't know how many people have actually heard that one.
I really don't have any, Clark, to be honest with you. I mean, I just cycle through baits sometimes, maybe colors. You just got to aggravate them. You got to know where to put the bait. Most people let it sit in there too long, and I make a lot of casts until I finally find out the spot. That's about my only trick. Not much of a trick, but works for me.
So a lot of times I like to fish dirtier water. If you're fishing clean water and you can't see the fish, the beautiful thing about the electronics now is we can drop waypoints, we can be spot on, we can get right where we need to be. I'll basically blind cast that wacky power bait general around. Normally if the fish is in the area and it's active, it's going to come out and eat that. And don't spend a lot of time on a fish. Where there's one, there's going to be more, so don't waste your time on one. I've seen guys sit on them for hours before and they never got them to bite, and then later in that afternoon, you can go tell your buddy that you caught that fish after he left. It just took it turned on at about 1 o'clock. Water temp is key when sight fishing. Early in the morning, water temp might be 60, 65 degrees. By the middle of the afternoon, it gets up into the 70s. Those fish get more active. They get, even if they're garden fry or they're just garden eggs on the bed, they become more active. So if it doesn't bite early, always swing back through and try it again, but sometimes, you know, it helps just to go fishing, casting where fish should be, rather than always just looking for beds, because you never know, the wind's going to blow and it blows right in where that bed is, and sometimes you waste a ton of time looking for one that's there.
They think it's a trick, and they don't find out a lot of people have the same tricks.
I don't really have any secrets. I do it the old style way. I told you guys my 3 baits, just a Cinco, a cross style bait, and then that fluke. One tip I can tell you is a lot of times those fish, depending on where you're at, those fish are going to set up very similar in pretty much the whole lake. So say you're going down the bank and you're working down a pocket. Say you're seeing a couple on the sides of the pocket, but you get into the back. A lot of times those fish are going to be set up in similar areas, like say they'll be right next to a drain in the back of the pocket on like a little flat area, or say we're back in Florida, those fish are going to they're going to spawn on like a buggy whip patch, or they're going to spawn on like next to a dock. It can change, but usually they're going to be set up in similar ways on that same body of water you're fishing. So you can go around and locate those fish a lot easier if you can kind of figure out how they're setting up.
But every sight fish, especially a female, is like different. I don't think there's any like cookie cutter approach to getting a fish to bite, so you just got to experiment and have kind of a bag of tricks to work with.
You know, I don't even know. I don't even know. Because it's not like I got one thing that like, oh, well, this will catch one. Because it just seems like every year that just changes. It just does.
You mean whatever your sponsor comes out with next?
Yeah, not even sponsor deal. Just like, I don't know. It just seems like there's certain years that have themes when it comes to lures. You know what I mean? It's just how it is.
Yeah, so if there was one trick, I would highly recommend Costa Del Mar, the Sunrise lens. It's the yellow lens. It brightens everything up. It just makes you a better sight fisherman. It's going to it lights everything up on the bank, even on a cloudy day or early in the morning if it's foggy, or even when the sun's out like it is today. It just brightens everything up, and it's made me become a better sight fisherman for sure.
You got to be dedicated to it. You can't sight fish and fish. You have to do one or the other, and you have to be able to read the fish, and don't spend time catching 2-pounders when there's 3, 4, 5, 6-pounders to be caught.
All right, every pro's kind of got this bag of tricks, and
which we're not sharing with you.
So, well, that answers my question.
On.
Didn't know if you had one little trick or something for sight
we're
fishing.
moving on.
Gotcha. All right.
Get some power poles.
And that was the mic drop. What's the biggest mistake you see people make whenever they're learning to sight fish?
Getting right on top of them. So, but it's kind of fun when you're actually watching, and then they're going around. But yeah, back off a little bit and it'll help you catch more fish.
I think getting personal, because there's certain fish, and I've done it many times, that you think you can catch it, and it kind of makes you believe that you can catch it. Maybe he's biting at it, maybe you lose him or something, and you stay and you stay and you stay to the point where it's personal, not because you actually need to catch that fish. It just becomes a grudge match right there.
The biggest mistake I think that I've seen people is fishing too long for a fish that's too small. You see it a lot. Of guys get caught up in the moment, and I've done it too. I mean, you do it when you're out fun fishing. You see a 2-pounder and you think you can catch them, and before you know it, you've been there 30 minutes and you still haven't caught them. And guys do that in tournaments, and you have to be disciplined to know you almost need to set like a time limit. If you don't have fish, the time limit's shorter. If you got a good bag, then you can afford more time on the fish. And I think time management is probably the biggest mistake. That's where people run into problems with bed fishing. That's why a lot of people don't like it, because they get hung up on a fish too long, and then before you know it, they've burned a couple hours of the day and they only got 3 in the live well, and then so they just scrap it all together and they go do something else. But you just got to know when to leave a fish and when you think it's worthwhile staying.
I mean, there's really two mistakes, and one of them I kind of touched on a little bit, and that's just getting too close to that bass. And then the second one would probably just not understanding the fish's mood. There's simply some bedding fish out there that you can't catch. I don't care if you're the best sight fisherman in the world, but really understanding what mood that fish is in and really which rod to pick up if it is a catchable bass.
You know, one of my pet peeves on sight fishing is throwing white or pink. I don't like to see the bait. I like to see the way the fish move. So you will hardly ever see me ever sight fish with something pink. I want something natural in there that the fish can relate to. And I don't need to see the bait. I just want to watch what the fish is doing. And when I see her or the male reacting the way that I want to, I know that it's fixing to be a caught fish.
All right, one of the problems we face as sight fishermen is power. Running out of battery juice. And nothing's more frustrated than limping around several hours into the day, going around these docks, eating it up, fighting wind, whatever else. What are your tips for conserving battery juice to make it where you can go all day sight fishing?
Definitely the best batteries that you can get, obviously. I'm actually running the new Bass Pro Shops lithiums, and I've not had any issues with them. I got them first thing this year in January, and here we are in April, the middle of April. I really like those, but also the Power Pole Charge, which charge your batteries when you run. That also helps, but afford the best batteries that you can possibly buy. And then the other thing is, a lot of guys will get your trolling motor up on high. They'll just kick it on high and just cover immense amounts of water. And I think that's good. But I think it can do two different things. I think that higher pitch squeal or a higher pitch of that motor running when you're running through shallows, there's fish that I'm convinced, there's fish that are gonna leave before you could ever see them. So put it on about 50%, go slower, go longer, extend your battery life, and actually possibly see more fish.
Yeah, you know, on my Phoenix 920 Elite, I'm running 236 volt lithium pro batteries. I can run on 100% literally all day from 6 a.m. to 8 o'clock at night, 14 hours, and I don't have an issue conserving power. I got the Power Pole Charge, so if I want to make a move, crank up my motor, it's charging my batteries back again, but I got zero issues now that I'm running 236 volt lithiums.
A big deal this year is actually that Power Pole Charge. You're able to, burn down a pocket of a bank, fish the whole pocket on 100, mark your beds, and then actually pick up the trolling motor, run around. Maybe, depending on, you can check your battery levels, but depending on your battery levels, you can run a little bit farther, go somewhere else, and by the time you get to the next spot, you'll have recharged your batteries up as of what you've used in that pocket you fished before. So it's a pretty cool deal. That's one way I love to do, is just let them charge themselves by running that big motor with that Power Pole Charge.
All right, so you've got a couple waypoints. Walk me through from the time you kill your motor, how far out, next steps, what are you gonna do as you approach that fish that you've got found on a bed?
Well, you're going to start off, a long ways away from the fish. Obviously, you want to give the time to settle down and kind of get everything going, get the boat moving in that direction, and then, I'm not going to throw that direction until I get within reach of the fish, because you don't want to land short and pull that fish away from the bed. You want to be able to where you can reach it and at least throw beyond it and reel it by there. So a lot of times I'll do that, make a cast by there just to see, hell, you might catch it first cast. But after that, then you're just going to slowly approach it. Power poles down. Be easy with stuff. Don't be bumping around. Because once the fish is aware of you, it's a whole different game. It gets a lot harder to do. So if you can sneak up on that fish, even though you know where he is, and fish for that fish before he's aware of you, you're in a lot better shape of catching that fish. So poles down, and then it's just a matter of kind of going through some baits, see how the fish reacts. Does the fish stay in a tight circle? Is it a big circle? The closer that fish will stay in a spot, and the better your chances of catching that fish. So it's just, and every one of them's different. I mean, you got to read that fish. Sometimes you got one that's just acting wild and crazy, and then you got other ones that just are like statues down there. So it's a learning process. I think that's what's good about fishing though all the way around, is because there's not a lot of absolutes. It's more of an art.
Well, it depends on the situation where the fish is located and whether it's an easy cast or they're mixed in the jungle and you got to get just a precise little angle to get in there. But if I can make a cast, if I can back off a fish and make a long cast to a bed before, I prefer to do that because they're more likely to bite on a long cast than they are just getting up and looking at them. So that's my little tip, is if you can make a cast a long ways away, do that.
Well, what I'll do is always come from the shallow side into the fish. If the sun, I always want the sun to my back, I will flip up my hood on my shirt or my sweatshirt, whatever I'm wearing, because usually when the sight fishing, the mornings are a little cooler. I will be very quiet and drop my power poles probably half a cast away from that fish, and make long pitches first just to see if she'll bite it without me getting too close where she knows I'm there at all. Once I arrive, I'll of course have my sunrise glasses on. Once I see the bed, I can see if the fish is reacting or what she's doing. I will put the flipping stick on her first thing, but always sneak up with your back to the sun, put your hood on, and sometimes I'll even kneel down to make sure that that fish is going to bite, so I don't have to waste any extra time or come back to it and find out that somebody else caught it when it came up. I want to make a few pitches, know exactly where that bait needs to be presented on the bed, and put that fish in the live well.
Typically, hopefully, I got more than one waypoint in a pocket or a cove or whatever, and most of the time I'll fish the whole cove. Like, I'll start at the mouth, especially if I knew there was something fairly close. I'm gonna always be checking for new fish coming in, and it's not necessarily about just pulling right up to it. Let's just say that we were fishing a straight bank and there was nothing on. I knew there was only one fish on one rock, and that's all I was going there for. Like, I would stop probably, 100 yards. And idle in. Like, I really would try to be quiet, and I approach them pretty slow. Like, if I know there's one there and I stand a good chance to catch them, like, I don't want to be buzzing in there, creating noise and making noise and all that. So I try to be as quiet as I can, and depending on the mood that I think those fish are in, I may make a long cast. I don't like to if I don't have to. Sometimes you have to make a long cast to those fish, and especially that first cast, you can get them to bite. But if it's one that I know is locked down, I want to get in there where I can flip to him and see him bite. That way I know when I set the hook, I have less chance of foul hooking them outside the mouth. So the long casts are good sometimes, but I'd rather be sitting in there close enough where I can see him and I can watch him bite it, and then I know when he doesn't have that bait and hook in his mouth. So, but I approach him slow.
So if I got a waypoint for a bedding fish, most of the time I'll troll up there real slow and not casting, because I just want to make sure that fish is still there. And once I recognize the fish is there, I'll power pole down and try to work it. Okay, now if she's acting squirrely and I'm too close to her, I'll just go on. Don't ever back up with the trolling mower. It's one of the worst things you can do. But just keep going straight, keep a linear motion, and then circle back around and blind cast. And if you can't get her blind casting, approach again, but stop shorter and try to sight fish her and see if you can get her to lock down.
It's just all about stealth, being quiet. You want to be like a ninja out there when you're approaching them. So that's my goal, like, to be unnoticed. And as soon as that fish knows you're there, it instantly becomes way tougher to catch the majority of the time. But if you can catch them, or find them or whatever, start casting to them and they don't know you're there, way easier.
You always want to go into the wind if the wind's blowing, so you don't get on top of the fish. Some people turn their electronics off. I don't do that. I think the fish knows she's there anyway. Power poles are a must. I also carry a push pole with me in case the wind's swinging me around. I'll shut the motor down, pick up the trolling, I'll pick up the rod before I get there, even though I know I'm not going to make a cast, but it just kind of is my setup, I guess, for that. And then I don't blind cast first. I usually wait till I see the fish before I start fishing for it.